When my daughter's therapist suggested I let her spend weekends with her rich aunt, I never expected to find adoption papers in my mailbox. I was 19 when Lily was born. Her father enlisted in the military and vanished before her first steps. My parents made it clear my mistake was mine alone to raise. 7 years later, we built a life in a one-bedroom apartment above the custody where I work. I sleep on the pull-out couch so Lily can have the bedroom. It's small, but I've strung fairy lights across her ceiling and built bookshelves from painted crates. I work 60 hours between the custody and weekend cleaning jobs. It's not perfect, but we manage. Everything changed when Lily threw a tantrum at school over another girl's expensive toy, something we could never afford. The school suggested therapy after their third session. Dr. Bennett pulled me aside. Lily is showing signs of anxiety. She knows you are struggling and she's internalizing that stress. My heart sank. I tried so hard to shield her. She mentioned her aunt several times. She continued, "Have you considered allowing Lily to spend more time with extended family?" Victoria, my half-sister, lived in a different world from ours. 15 years older, successful career, wealthy husband, sprawling suburban home. She'd reached out over the years, sending expensive gifts that made me feel both grateful and inadequate. But for Lily, I swallowed my pride and called Victoria's weekend with Lily stretched into regular sleepovers. My apartment felt empty without her, but she returned with sparkling eyes and stories of horseback riding lessons and swimming pools. Aunt Victoria has a music box with a spinning ballerina, Lily told me. She said maybe I could have one someday. 3 months later, Victoria invited me for coffee. "Emma, I want to discuss something important," she began, fidgeting with her diamond ring. "Lily is flourishing with us. We'd like to offer her a permanent place in our home." The clay-footed seemed to tilt. "You want to take my daughter? Not take her, share her? You'd still see her, of course. But she'd live with us primarily." I left without answering, tears blurring my vision. A week later, adoption papers arrived in my mailbox, already filled out with Victoria and Robert's information. That night, I looked through Lily's baby photos, my tired smile in the hospital, her first steps, first day of kindergarten. Then I examined the adoption papers again and saw what I'd missed. Not just guardianship, but a complete termination of my parental rights. Victoria wouldn't be sharing my daughter. She'd be replacing me. The next morning, I called in sick and spent the day with Lily. That evening, I asked her directly, "Would you rather live with Aunt Victoria all the time?" Her small face grew serious. "But then who would live with you?" "I'd be okay," I lied. She twisted her hair, "A habit since toddlerhood. But who would read me stories the way you do? Who would know that I don't like when foods touch on my plate?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Would you be my mommy still?" I pulled her close. "I will always be your mommy. Nothing can change that." That night, I wrote to Victoria, returning her papers unsigned. I wouldn't relinquish my rights to Lily, but I welcomed her continued presence in Lily's life as an aunt, not a replacement. I also enrolled in online classes toward a degree. It would take time working around my jobs, but it was a start. A week later, a package arrived from Victoria. Inside was a small music box with a spinning ballerina. The card read, "For Lily, from her aunt who loves her." And for Emma, from a sister who admires her strength more than she can say. Beneath was a check made out to a college fund for Lily. That night, as Lily fell asleep to the gentle melody, I realized we didn't have to choose between struggle and surrender. There was a middle path where pride made room for help, where family expanded rather than transferred. Our tiny apartment might not have everything, but it had what mattered most, a home where Lily was loved for exactly who she was, not what she could become.